Information Evening 2020. Just so that you know, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end. There's a question mark button at the top right hand corner of your screen. Please indicate on there and type in a question, and we will answer any questions that you might have at the end. I'd like to start, please, with the school prayer. Loving God, whose Son Jesus Christ is a companion and friend, on our journey to be more like him, grant us patience to grow, endurance in difficulty, and courage to walk the way of compassion and peace. Amen. So, well done, first of all, to all of our new Year 12 students who have joined us this summer. Here are some of our superstars from the summer. What a fantastic bunch of results you all got. We were so impressed with you collectively, and what a long wait it was to get here. We all knew how much you obviously went through with regards to waiting for those results, but when that day came, hopefully you were really pleased with what you got. I'd also like to extend the welcome to our new students who join us from local schools, but also to the students that join us from schools that are further afield, who are joining us as part of the ACE programme with London Irish. So thank you to everybody for making such a fantastic start to Year 12. So my name is Mandy Rook, I forgot to introduce myself, and I'm the head of sixth form. And
I'm Mr. Collins, the head of Year 12.
And what I would like to start off by just going through is what lies ahead. I've been head of sixth form, for over 10 years now. And what lies ahead is 2 years of exceptional growth where you will discover new things. Now, those new things will be about subjects that you already love or new subjects that you're about to start studying. And you will learn to adopt new ways of studying to deepen your love and knowledge of these subjects. Along the way, you might also decide that you want to learn how to drive. You might take on a part-time job. You might fall in love. You might fall out of love. But whatever is ahead, there will be challenges and bumps along the road. And we are here to help support you through this journey to then have the best opportunities to whatever you might want to go and do after the sixth form. And we do hope in time that we'll have more opportunities like the ones pictured for sixth form socials, but obviously for the time being, that is on hold. Now, what lies ahead for you will be shaped by how you approach your studies. Now, every year we notice that when it comes to A-level results day, it's not always a clear trajectory from doing well at GCSE to then doing well at A-level. That actually a lot of it is about your mindset and how you approach your studies. It's about making sure that you know where these studies are taking you and developing your vision. Not everyone will know now exactly what they want to do when they leave sixth form, but over the course of the next 2 years, we will be helping you to develop that vision, to give meaning to these A-levels and BTECs that you're doing. It's also about making sure that you put the relevant amount of effort into your studies, and also having the systems that are going to be able to support you to do as well as you possibly can. Practicing the skills that your teachers are teaching you is an important part of this process. Doing past papers, for example, revisiting information, because many of your qualifications are now linear qualifications, meaning that all of your A-level exams and assessments will be at the end of 2 years. And it's how you're going to respond constructively to potential setbacks that you're inevitably going to have. For many of you who were in the induction day, you will have heard one of our current Year 13 students talking about her A-level journey and how she wished someone had told her it was okay to, not get her target grade at the first few assessments, that actually it takes time to actually develop that. But how you respond to those initial grades that are below what you might like is really important to you improving and getting better and making sure you reach your potential. So I'd like to just also mention a few basics. So attendance and punctuality. Obviously, attendance is important throughout the whole school. But in the sixth form, there is obviously a new responsibility for students to perhaps have a little bit more freedom with regards to the times that they're in school. And we're going to mention that a little bit more in a moment. But the lessons that you have timetabled is absolutely essential that you come to 100% of them. If you start dropping off with your lesson attendance, it will have an impact on your grades, because you will be missing content that we know will be covered in those exams in 2 years' time. And the grade drops approximate are on the slide in front of you. So just dropping 10% is the equivalent of dropping a grade in a subject, or dropping 20% is the equivalent of dropping a couple of grades, maybe in one particular subject that maybe is the one that you are finding most difficult, or it could be that you drop a grade in 2 different subjects. And this therefore means that you would be lowering the types of universities or apprenticeship opportunities that are going to be open to you. So being here in every single lesson and completing all your work is absolutely essential. Now, some of you sent in questions in advance, and so here are some of the common attendance questions we have. Now, most students should now have collected this afternoon their most up-to-date timetable. And on that timetable, it will have clearly stated where the lessons are, but also where students' timetabled and registered study periods are. Now, if you have a timetabled registered study period or a lesson, or indeed an enrichment session, you must make sure you're in every single one of those and you get registered for that lesson. If you do have a blank on your timetable, so there's nothing written in that session, that means that you have had an agreed late pass or an agreed early pass. So it means you can leave when obviously your last scheduled session is. You must make sure that you sign out at the back study where those laminated sheets are to show us that you have gone home, and you say what time that was that you've gone home. If you are scheduled for a session period 1, whether that's a timetabled study period or whether it's a lesson, you must make sure that you're in for 8:35 and be registered with your tutor, please. Now, the other thing is that obviously we know that sometimes events crop up during the day when you're a sixth former that you might need to get home for one reason or another. Now, for that purpose, we have a yellow slip that you must make sure that you have completed. It gives notice to your teachers that you are going to be absent for a given reason. Now, you can't just decide, oh, I just don't feel like going to lessons today. There needs to be an adequate reason for that absence. Perhaps an emergency at home, perhaps you've been taken ill during the day, but you must complete a yellow slip to make sure your teachers are informed of your absence. You go and get that signed off by those teachers, they provide you work, and you drop it back to Mrs. Desai. If you know in advance that you've got, say, for example, an appointment, and we do encourage you to try and take those outside of your lesson and scheduled lessons and timetabled sessions, you may well not be able to, we understand that on occasions, but if you do, you then get a blue slip signed. You go and see those members of staff, get the work in advance, and then you give it once again to Mrs. Desai, our administrator. I would just also like to say that you must report any absences to Mrs. Desai, and the telephone number and email address are on the slide here. A note about part-time jobs, we would recommend no more than 8 hours a week. Once you start taking more than 8 hours a week, it does eat into the time that you can spend on your studies. So please make sure you keep that to that hour, to those amount of hours. And that you only take those hours after school hours. So you shouldn't be taking any paid employment during the hours of 8:35 and up to 3:30, which is the end of our period 6 time. So no work in between that, and also no scheduled driving lessons. If you need any advance notice appointments, absence for something, for example, having a block of time off, you need to do that with the special absence request form via Mrs. Desai. Hopefully that's answered most of your common attendance questions. It's dress code. Perhaps a slightly unpopular slide to throw in there, but it's an important one nonetheless. I've been largely impressed with students actually and how you've appeared, so well done to most of you, you're getting it right. Just a few little ones please. Can we make sure that students have got shoes and not trainers? And can we also make sure that students, if they are cold, which is hard to imagine today because it's really not cold at all. But as the weather turns, can you make sure, please, that students have got knitwear instead of a sweatshirt or a hoodie, please? But as I said, most people are getting it right 100%, so well done, thank you.
We're now going to look and turn to our vision. Okay, so our vision is looking at our stepping stones into the education system from Key Stage 4 into Key Stage 5. We're going to look, I took the time to go for a walk in Box Hill, and when I got to Box Hill, I went over the stepping stones, and as I got down there, there's a massive queue. Now, I knew it would be quite busy. However, when I actually looked at it, there was a stepping stone missing. And it was quite interesting to see these different types of people navigate their way through the water using the stepping stones. It's really, really important that this year we have had a blip, we have had our missed GCSEs. However, our students, as Ms. Rook has said, have worked incredibly hard nonetheless. That's why they're here at Bishop Wand. We need to navigate that small area, that blip in our system, and get back on track onto our stepping stones. The best way I feel we can do that is to work together. So I found this quote from the Department of Education. Children have two main educators. They have you at home, the parents, the carers, and they then have the teachers. We will do our bit within Bishop Wand in order to succeed and get them on to their next chapter, whether that's through to a job or whether that's through onto further education, university or apprenticeships. Talking about that next step, it's really important to look at this growth mindset, to look, where are we right now? We're coming into new specialist subjects. Are we there where we can't do it? Or are we there, we can't do it yet? Okay, so it's talking about, as Ms. Rook mentioned, about the Year 13 students saying, you've got to fail, we've got to fail, we've got to fail in order to be successful. We here at Bishop Wand are here to help. We're here to help get the challenges, to help them progress on to their next steps. The way in which that works is their form tutors are the first point of contact. We have an amazing group of form tutors here at Bishop Wand for our Year 12 students, and their email addresses are directly there. We're also lucky enough to have a pastoral administrator, Mr. Asai. We have Miss Harrison, or now Miss Winstanley, looking after our assistant head of 6th, and Miss Rook, head of 6th form, and myself. We're all here to help embrace that journey, get through this tough time with learning the new skills of being a 6th form student, and also coming up against those challenges which your child will face. Another really important thing is communication here at Bishop Wand. We do really want to work together. Therefore, I've included now the subject leads and heads of department for all our subjects at Bishop Wand. If you've got any problems with it being work or anything like that, it's really good to direct those to the heads of department. They are there for you to look at. Now then, I think it's really important to plan about what's coming up next, to see where those changes are or what we are doing here at Bishop Wand. The main things that are coming up are our first reports, that are effort reports here at Bishop Wand in October, turning up into our internal exams in January to kind of see exactly where they are at moving forward and see how that bridge has gone from our GCSE age into our A-level ages and BTECs. We're then looking, onto organising our work experience and making sure that's really meaningful for our Year 12s. Again, moving on to more reports, UCAS applications, and looking onto what are we going to do after Year 13. The next one is our Bishop Wand 6. Really, really important is our Bishop Wand 6 and what we are looking for. So the first one is to be a proud and supportive 6th former, looking about our positive contributions that we can to our local school. The next one is to be that outstanding role model, looking at our behaviour, making sure we're impeccably dressed as our dress code that Ms. Rook has just mentioned, and make sure that our attitude is always spot on. Looking to attend all our structured sessions, whether that be our study session or our lesson sessions. Be fully equipped for the day, so making sure that you've got that revision that you need to do in your study session. Make sure you've got access to whatever you need for that day. Working hard and positively contributing in your lessons and study periods. And finally, use and embrace all of the technology we have at Bishop Wand in order to help your time here be productive and successful. So using our sites like Insight, our sites like Teams, My Homework, and our email in the correct way. I am so excited to have our sixth forms because every single one I've come into contact over the last 6-7 days has had all of our Bishop 1-6 here. So it's working really well. We just need to keep that going. With the new part at the moment, with how we are, with losing some of our study periods, our directed study periods, we now need to have a great place for students to work at home as well as in school. We have 2 dedicated areas for our sixth formers to work individually, 3 actually now. We have the library, we have the front and back studies which have access to computers, work desks for our students to prepare for their studies. We then would like to see students preparing for that at home as well in their non-contact, their early passes and their late passes. So it'd be really good to have a dedicated area for them to work. Really other important things that we need to look at are our applications. We need to be having students on Show My Homework, Insight, Outlook, Teams and Uniflow. This will help them with their organisation for the day and making sure they're able to connect with their teachers. Another really important thing that we have going on this year is our form time. Form time has slightly changed to what it was in the lower school and what other schools had. Students must be here on a Tuesday PM. That's a chance for myself and Ms. Rook to give out our notices, our assemblies and keep in touch with every student as a form base. They also need to be here for their enrichment, which I'll touch base for in a moment. And then each tutor has assigned a time with their tutee for a one-to-one specific session on developing their needs, looking at where they are right now and how we can work together to get the best out of them for their 2-year journey onto their next steps. I talked about enrichment a moment ago. This is going to happen every period 1 on a Wednesday in both weeks. What we're looking at here is to prepare our students for the next step. We're looking at that being in a non-academic and an academic sense. Students could take up their new EPQ at this time. It's also a chance for us to promote and champion students' awareness in 3 main categories: their health, political understanding and cultural change, and also their personal skills, their organisation, their leadership, their self-awareness. We have a lot more to go through throughout the year. So that enrichment session on the Wednesday is absolutely key. We have additional enrichment here at Bishop 1, which we are so proud of, and we're looking to continue this on even this year. We have an external company which look at our DV Gold, which will still run in 2020-2021 cohort, and it doesn't actually matter if you completed or finally completed your Duke of Edinburgh Silver as well. So there's more information from Mr. Worrell and Mr. Leonard about that soon. We also have a company, an amazing company, that do True Adventure. So our last cohort that managed to do True Adventure went all the way to Vietnam. Okay, the skills that they picked up there were absolutely immense, and some of the photos and the experiences talking to the people was unbelievable. So watch this space for that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the weeks to come. So we just want to look about what is new here at Bishop 1 Sixth Form. So we have a new role which Ms. Winstanley will launch for us later this week, which is our Deputy Heads of House, looking at putting a role there that connects us with the lower school students. We have the PARS and Insight now coming into the sixth form. So for most of us that were Bishop 1 students already, you'll know about the PARS and you'll know about the Insight. So you will now have an opportunity to see your own insight as well. We have study time back sessions. So students that probably aren't doing what we need to do or need that additional support, we will put them in the time back session to give them that dedicated time to support them. We've also invested a great deal of money in our Turnitin software. This is coming into terms with our universities, which is going to allow us to help develop our students to be amazing students ready for that further education or those apprenticeships. This will be looking at their plagiarism, looking about how we reference different things and how we start to produce the bibliography for any work that we submit. This is just getting us in the right mindset for that further education and becoming professional individuals. Another point is there's a great bursary on offer for some students that if you want to know more information, please do come and talk to myself or Mr. SI. It's not out just yet, but we'll then get a list of names together and we'll then be able to send out some information for you. So some great opportunities for us already in the first part of Bishop 1. I just want to share an additional quote from the Department of Education. Parental involvement makes a big difference to pupils' engagement and their achievements at education. So during our sixth form, we want to be as involved as possible with you guys. The way in which we're going to do that is by parent mail. So Mr. Griffiths is our tech guru who has already sent out some emails ready for our parent mail, and again that is going ahead throughout this week. If you have not received a parent mail login email by Friday, could you please email Mr. Griffiths and he will get back to you at some point next week with your details and help with the support process of getting you logged on to parent mail. It's so important, Ms. Rook, myself, the members of staff at Bishop Bond use parent mail in order to communicate any important messages that we have. We're then looking at how we can best support students. So we have different things this year. We have the Show My Homework what's it called now?
Satchel Run.
Satchel Run, and keep changing these things, which you can find on our RM Unify from our website. This here, you can keep track of all the work that's being set by our sixth form teachers. You can see important notices go up there for the students as well. You also have the parental section on Insight. So if you download the Insight app, it kind of looks like an eye on both the Android and the applications on Apple. So we have that there for you, and you can then keep in touch. We're going to use this for giving out reports, checking attendance, making sure that our students are in the right places, doing the right things, and also for our positives. So that will be a really great app to download. And that there has come to the end of our presentation at the moment. So earlier on, Ms. Rook talked about questions, and I believe we've already had a couple coming through.
Ms. Brooke, are students expected to start and finish school in school timing if they do not have a first or last period?
Okay, so as I said in the presentation, you will have got your timetable today, a paper version. If it's blank on the timetable, that means you have a late pass and you can therefore come in and register straight away in your first lesson. If you have a blank and it's at the end of the day, you can sign out and leave the school site. So they've already been pre-arranged. Mr. Collins looks through every single timetable lovingly and decided where each late pass or early pass should go.
You also need to add in there that if you do happen to come in earlier because you've got an earlier bus, you managed to get in a little bit quicker, whatever that is, you please make sure you go and see Mr. SI to be able to sign you in, because we do need to know you're on school site. So you've all got your passes today, which will open our sixth form gate to get you in, and the sixth form gate only. Okay, so make sure you use those passes to come in, pop and see Mr. SI just to let her know you're here. As Ms. Rook said, if you come in for your scheduled times, such as a break time ready for lesson 3, don't worry about signing in. So if you've come in lesson 1 when you actually only need to be in lesson 3.
Another question, Mr. Brooke. If you could give one piece of advice to parents of a Year 12 student, what would it be?
My advice for students would be to have a growth mindset, to look at every challenge with new eyes and to not give up, to make sure that they just keep trying. If my advice was for parents, it would be communication all the way. If you've got any concerns that your child is not working hard enough, or that you're worried that they're working too hard, you must please be in touch with the form tutor or Mr. Collins to share those concerns, because there will be something that we will be able to do to help support you. So communication all the way for parents. Talk to us, because if we've got concerns, we will obviously share them with you.
Mr. Collins, a question about timetables. I understand that being resolved. Just students struggling with being organised as well. Is there any advice about that as well, please?
So the organisation is going to be coming into our enrichment process. So we'll be looking at that in the next coming weeks, actually, either this week or next week. And also with that, if you've got any concerns about your timetables, come and talk to us. Okay, we've had several students talking about their fourth choices, which we will liaise with you a little bit later on. So we want you to keep going with those for now. If you have real concerns, come and find us and liaise with us. And also, we've now given you your study periods at times. It's now a chance for you to get organised. Use those time effectively with your Show My Homework, looking at what tasks you need to do and that extended learning.
And one last question. My child is currently doing 4 subjects. However, he is wanting to drop one of them. What are the procedures for doing this?
So what he would need to do is to come and speak to me. As Mr. Collins has just alluded to, we're encouraging as many of the students as we can to continue with their fourth subject. That's because they've essentially been out of the classroom for so long that actually having an extra 9 hours over 2 weeks that helps stimulate their brains, can only help. So we would really encourage students to continue with their fourth. I would also add in there that I'm also really keen for them to continue their fourth where they are doing new subjects. So I don't want them to too hastily decide that a subject is for them or isn't for them. Or also where they're doing a subject that we know the jump between GCSE and A-level is particularly big. So like, for example, maths or some of the sciences, you might at the moment feel it's all going well because your teachers are kind of softly going in with an easier topic. But I don't want students to all of a sudden go, no, that's it, I've decided. And then in 2-3 weeks' time, for them to all of a sudden feel at a loss and have dropped their fourth. So I will allow some people to drop the fourth, but only with very, very good reason.
Perfect. So I think that's everything for today.
That draws us to an end.
So if you have any other questions or issues, if you just direct those to the form tutors or myself or Miss Rook, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good evening.